Welcome to the Men's Health Mental Health series brought to you by Mygrow, the emotional intelligence platform. So many of the things that we consider to be important for success and health as men, it might be physical fitness, maybe nutrition, maybe presenting ourselves well through what we wear, it might be hygiene or financial stuff. As important as those things are, they can't really help us with some of the most challenging problems that we face as men. You see, the challenges that lie in the domain of our psychosocial functioning, these are the things that really are dear to us. Well, what does that mean? Psycho from the field of psychology, what's happening in our minds, the way we see ourselves in relation to the world. And then social, obviously meaning the way we interact with other human beings. So psychosocial functioning basically means our ability to function effectively in how we manage ourselves and interact with others. You see, so often the problems that we most want to change, well, those are the problems that are the most difficult to change. As men, many of us haven't been properly equipped with the right kind of tools to navigate those things in a healthy way. It might be the way we feel about ourselves in comparison to others. It might be the shame we experience in the boardroom where the responses to our suggestion aren't very positive. It might be the sense of anger or rage that gets triggered in us at times. It might be questions around how do I deal with conflict? How do I build intimacy? How do I set boundaries in relationships at work and at home? And then add to that all of the problems that we actually have with ourselves, the identities we have, the habits we wish we could lay down, those recurring choices that we keep making over and over again that we know aren't healthy, but we're stuck in a decision-making cycle that isn't really serving us well at the end of the day. What about chronic anxieties that are difficult to lay down, or a lack of purpose, or that sense of meaninglessness that sometimes we have? Maybe it's a dampened or even significantly depressed mood. You see, these are some of the most challenging problems that men face. So, as men, where can we turn to equip ourselves with the right tools to handle these parts of life well, to achieve success in what can only be referred to as psychological fitness? You see, the right clothes don't help us to solve these challenges. They just hide them. And exercise, while it might be healthy, can sometimes be a distraction, but doesn't bring health in these parts of our lives. Now, if we can start focusing as much on our psychological fitness as some of us do on our physical fitness, well, that's where holistic health and success will start becoming a reality for us in our lives. Now, research in the field of psychology and emotional intelligence shows us that if we can do this well, achieve psychological fitness, well, then we'll be able to overcome some of these most important challenges for ourselves. And so our question is, what is psychological fitness? Well, the domain of psychological fitness is more accurately described by a set of psychosocial competencies or skills that are collectively known as emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence isn't actually one thing, and perhaps is more accurately referred to as emotional intelligences, plural. A little bit like physical fitness isn't just one thing, but rather an aggregate of different strengths and abilities related to specific or combined muscles related to certain outputs or cardiovascular response rates. And in the same way, EQ or emotional intelligence is a set of competencies that are brought together under the one umbrella of the ability to effectively manage ourselves and interact with others. Now, something that's so exciting about the domain of emotional intelligence, or psychological fitness, if you will, is that just like physical strength in physical fitness, emotional strength or fitness can also be developed. And a great analogy to understand how this works is the difference between bones and muscles. Beyond a certain age, you can't develop your bones anymore. You can kind of maintain them, but you can't strengthen them in the same way you can for muscles. Well, in the domain of psychology, bones work similar to cognitive intelligence or IQ. They develop to a certain age and then it kind of plateaus. But bones aren't the only things that make up our bodies. There are also muscles. And muscles, well, yeah, they develop naturally from a young age as one gets older, but then there comes a point that the way you develop those muscles happens by intentionally practicing specific exercises to target specific muscles or muscle groups. And there's a correlation between how much exercise one does and how much stronger those muscles become, and our fitness levels as a result. And that's also true for emotional intelligence or psychological fitness. These psychosocial muscles can be significantly developed by implementing specific techniques repeatedly over time. You see, you need to do reps and sets for both muscles and psychological strengths to grow them and develop them. So what's the big deal about this emotional intelligence? You might have heard a TED talk or seen a LinkedIn post or read a book or something, but you've never really taken the time to unpack what it is or how it can bring success or health to you in your life. Well, the reason it's drawn so much attention in the last few decades is because of how significantly powerful the skills of EQ is in multiple domains of our life. The ones we care about, our careers, our personal romantic relationships, our parenting. It's also abundantly clear that unhealthy, dysfunctional results can become our reality if we neglect these muscles and if we don't build these competencies as we age. Now, the first reason that we shouldn't neglect our psychological fitness is because of the way the subconscious mind works. Our responses to life and the world around us are actually rooted in our subconscious identities. And these identities are developed over the course of our lives as our subconscious remembers and stores the memories and moments we have through our lives. And it stores these memories in something like a subconscious database to be used in different experiences we have as we navigate our lives on a day-to-day basis. Sounds great, right? Our subconscious minds have this like machine learning function to help us navigate the future. And that would be great if the system worked perfectly, but it doesn't. You see, the problem comes in with some of the principles that govern the way the subconscious mind works. For example, it pays more attention to negative messages than it does to positive ones. And this is a natural outcome of a certain part of the brain called the amygdala that constantly scans the world for danger so that we can respond quickly without thinking. It's almost consistently on high alert to protect us. So, as we go through life, we tend to take in more negative messages into our subconscious minds than positive ones. And to cope with the narratives of our lives, what our subconscious mind does is to develop themes that rise up in our subconscious automatically as something that we call an identity. And these identities naturally tend towards being quite negative, being fear-based. And whatever these identities are, they start to subtly shift the way that we interpret the world around us and the way we start to view ourselves and then respond. You see, the amygdala, it functions according to a better safe than sorry kind of way. And as we know, safe means we protect ourselves emotionally, relationally, in our careers. And sometimes that amounts to stunting rather than protecting. We might struggle with a sense of worthlessness or I'm just not good enough. We might second guess ourselves and wonder if there's something fundamentally wrong with us. We might consistently find ourselves with a subtle sense of insecurity. And these are all very normal experiences for normal human beings. And all men have them at certain points. You see, in those moments when that is what our subconscious is interpreting for us in relation to the world, you see, in those moments, our amygdala is saying, hide, run, fight, instead of pause, lean in, stay, listen, engage, try and understand. Now, this tendency towards focusing on the negatives, it really can lead to some quite problematic dynamics that can hold us hostage to certain psychological paradigms that actually just make it difficult for us to view the world in any other kind of way. Well, this isn't healthy. It's really normal, sure, but it's not healthy for us. You see, this is a low level of psychological fitness. Now, it might be that there are certain patterns of conflict that emerge in your relationships, certain negative thinking patterns, frustration, irritation. Or what about self-confidence? Maybe that question mark that hangs over your head, whether you wonder if you'll actually be able to do something. Maybe it's public speaking, or maybe it's a crucial conversation with a colleague. It might be initiating sex or asserting your boundaries. Maybe it's feeling insecure in a certain social setting. You see, these experiences that you have, they aren't objective, they're subjective. You feel them the way you feel them because of what's happening psychologically and emotionally in your mind. And this leads you to respond in the way that you respond, in potentially psychologically weak or unhealthy ways. So what can we do to start improving our psychological fitness? What are the next steps that you and I can take to start improving some of these psychosocial muscles? Well, because emotional intelligence works at a psychological level, much the same way that muscles are developed at a physiological level, well, the answer for the way that we develop these competencies is actually quite simple. You need to implement psychological techniques over time. You need to do the reps and the sets to start seeing results. And the techniques or exercises of psychological fitness aren't bicep curls or squats or deadlifts, but they amount to the same thing neurologically. Instead of exercising certain muscle groups, these techniques prime certain neural pathways in the emotional centers of the brain. And they work to combat old pathways or unhelpful paradigms or identities, and they work to rewire new neural pathways, new ways of viewing the world and responding. And when you can create new, healthy, adaptive, strong neural pathways, well, those will help us to overcome some of these psychosocial challenges that physical muscles, a high income or nice clothes won't help us with at all. And here are some of the techniques just to get you started. There's a technique called 3 good things, a well-established technique from the field of positive psychology, where all you need to do is on a daily basis write down 3 good things that have happened in the last 24 hours, and then spend some time considering why each of those good things was possible. Another technique called the ABCDE technique by the great psychologist Albert Ellis. It helps you to manage irrational thought processes, ineffective thought processes, and to have more effective beliefs and thought processes for better consequences in our lives. To manage stress, you might want to implement a mindfulness practice or a breathing technique. For example, counting one's breaths 5 seconds in and 5 seconds out has been shown to train the heart-brain connection and build high levels of heart coherence that sends a message to the brain that your fight or flight response can actually be turned off or overridden. Lastly, you might want to consider using an app that can take you on a psychological fitness development journey, and this can be done through something like Mygrow, the emotional intelligence platform, where in just 10 minutes a day you can be taken on a journey towards psychosocial fitness. Surely, alongside many of the healthy things that we implement in our lives as men, physical fitness, nutrition, sleep, relaxation, well, maybe we could spend some of those minutes each day to build the psychological muscles that'll bring true flourishing in all these areas of our lives to help us navigate some of those challenges that are most dear to us. And as you and I grow in our psychological fitness, we'll find, as so many others have, that we can become better at being ourselves, that our lives can become a place where we're effectively able to manage ourselves and interact with others. Now, if you like this video, you can subscribe to the Men's Health channel and you can get the next video in this series. And don't forget to catch me on LinkedIn, Mark Baker at Mygrow. Now, together, Men's Health and Mygrow are on a mission to build an emotionally intelligent world. And I hope you'll come on the journey and join us. Inward and upward.